What's the politics behind it? We will delve into that. And of course, we will take you through Israel striking Qatar's capital. Latest information coming in that multiple strikes have attacked Qatar's capital Doha, where a meeting was being scheduled. It was underway, where Hamas leaders, we believe, were in discussion on around ceasefire talks with regards to what Trump had said. Now, while that meeting was on, we believe Israel has struck Qatar's Doha. Now, multiple Hamas seniors have been killed, is what we hear. And we will take you through, of course, on our top story of day tonight, Madur, Karnataka, that erupted in violence, a riot-like situation during Ganesh procession. We're looking at Section 144 in place and prohibitory orders that will now lead to investigation into what really led to those riots. As always, the headlines first. Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned amid violent anti-corruption protests across the country. Ex-Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal's wife has been burnt alive as protesters set her house on fire. Gen Z demonstrations now has spanned across the country. This happened after 19 unarmed youth were killed for protesting a social media ban. NDA CP Radhakrishnan wins VP polls with 452 votes, becoming the 15th Vice President of India, defeating opposition's B. Sudarshan Reddy, who received 300 votes. This election was being held 50 days after Jagdeep Dhankar stepped down, citing health reasons. Prime Minister Narendra Modi conducts aerial survey of flood-hit Mandi and Kulu districts of Himachal, announces 1,500 crore aid, advance release of SDRF funds, and Prime Minister Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana scheme to support disaster relief and rehabilitation. BJP delegation led by State President B.Y. Vijayendra and leader of opposition R. Ashoka to be meeting injured people in Madur Ganesh immersion violence case. Party forms a fact-finding committee headed by Dr. Ashwath Narayan within the BJP itself to submit a report within a week. Karnataka tells the Supreme Court that President and governors are only titular heads under Constitution. They have no real role, bound to act on aid and advice of Council of Ministers. So basically hinting that a governor can't hold on to any policy that the government and the Council of Ministers have decided upon. That's basically indicating multiple governors sitting on many files in across states where the opposition is ruling. So here the Karnataka government saying this in court. Actor and politician Vijay to kick off his first statewide election campaign from Tiruchi on September 13th, covering all 38 districts between September to December. DGP approach for security arrangements for public rallies. And Travancore Devaswam Board sends Sabrimala gold planting from sculptures to Chennai without Kerala High Court's nod, citing urgent repairs. High Court set to intensify scrutiny over temple gold holding and handling ahead of Mandalam pilgrimage season. Bollywood actress Shilpa Shetty's husband Raj Kundra to appear before Economic Offences Wing on September 15th in a 60 crore investment fraud probe involving misuse of funds from Best Deal TV Private Limited. Israeli military conducts precision airstrikes in Qatar's capital Doha, reportedly hitting senior Hamas officials meeting to discuss Trump's ceasefire proposal. Blasts reported near Qatar district. Israeli media claim several senior Hamas officials have been eliminated. All right, before I get to our top stories, I'm cutting straight to Nepal Army Chief Ashok Raj Sidgel, who's addressed the nation amid protests in Kathmandu. Nepal Army Chief General Ashok Raj Sidgel has issued a video address to update the public on recent events following the Gen Z protests. In his address, Sidgel has appealed to citizens to maintain peace and security. The army has also expressed regret over damage to public property during the demonstrations. In fact, a statement has been released by the Army's Public Relations Directorate that said, Nepal Army, always committed to the safety and security of Nepal and its people, is fully dedicated to protecting lives and property in the current situation. The Army has emphasized protection of public assets, including historical, cultural and national heritage, as a shared responsibility. It's also urged citizens to act with restraint and in fact, preserve social harmony and national unity amid the ongoing unrest. Get you that reaction there in just a moment, but this was what was awaited. Nepal Army Chief. In fact, the army had to salvage the situation as we saw Nepal fully out of control. Gen Z protesters hitting the streets. Several leaders, current and former, were attacked. In fact, former Prime Minister of Nepal's wife has been killed in the Gen Z attacks. In fact, we're looking at large-scale protesters, all between the age groups of 19 to 30. They hit the streets, condemning the ban that was imposed by KP Sharma Oli government on social media platforms, and that quickly turned and escalated into agitation and uprising against corruption, nepotism, and a host of other issues that it clearly appears the people of Nepal had pent up. And this has come out in how dislodging the regime. KP Sharma Oli was forced to flee, and you had the army trying to salvage the situation, bring cool and calm, but that still is far from achieved. Nepal Army Chief Ashok Raj Sidgel has now addressed the nation. He's just spoken, issuing a video address to update the public on recent events following the Gen Z protests. In fact, we hear in his address, the Army Chief has expressed regret over damage to public property during demonstrations. A statement released by the Army's Public Relations Directorate has said, Nepal Army, always committed to safety and security of Nepal and its people, is fully dedicated to protecting lives. As soon as we get this video bite, we are going to play that out for you. But for now, this is the latest update. All right, let me cut across to Israel attacking Qatar. A meeting that was underway where Hamas leadership were in talks about ceasefire got struck by some missiles that came their way. It was targeted strikes on Hamas leadership. Israel has struck at the very core of the Hamas leadership, launching missile attacks in Qatar's capital, Doha. Explosions rocked the Qatar district, where top Hamas officials were meeting to discuss a US-brokered Gaza ceasefire proposal. In fact, the airstrikes came barely 24 hours after Hamas claimed responsibility for Jerusalem attack that killed 6 people. Israel has in fact answered with fire, taking the fight beyond Gaza straight into Qatar. Doha has responded, slamming these attacks, saying this is an absolute violation of international law and all the rules in place. Qatari government calls it a cowardly assault by Israel, saying that this is criminal and a violation of Qatar's sovereignty, and also a direct threat to the safety of the people of Qatar. Security forces and civil defense in Qatar rushed to contain the damage, and investigations now begin at the highest level. But here you have it. We're looking at Israel attacking Qatar's Doha, where a meeting was held where Hamas leaders had congregated to discuss on ceasefire. Iran has condemned these strikes as dangerous and illegal. Israel's minister, though, Bezalel Smotrich, has praised this move, saying terrorists will have no immunity from the long arm of Israel anywhere in the world. United States Embassy in Doha has confirmed this missile strikes. They've ordered the staff to shelter in place and warned the American citizen to stay indoors. In fact, this attack is part of Israel's widening military campaign. Israel is said to have attacked 6 Arab nations so far. Daily bombings in Gaza continue. Strikes in Lebanon, Syria and Yemen also have been reported regularly. A suspected Israeli drone also targeted a Gaza-bound humanitarian flotilla docked in Tunisia just a day ago. And here you have now a fresh attack. Remember, this comes just 24 hours after the Jerusalem attack where 6 people had died. Hamas leadership has been attacked in Qatar, and Israel confirms this, that they've killed senior leaders of Hamas who were holding that meeting in Qatar. Israel has certainly taken this war deep into neutral territory. The battlefield clearly no longer is confined to Gaza. The war has spilled across the Middle East, and the risk of an uncontrollable regional firestorm is higher than ever. Joining me to discuss a little in detail on what this really means, the wider repercussions, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Thank you very much, sir. He's a defense and geopolitical expert. Sir, your take on Israel attacking Qatar's Doha, where a meeting was held. It was a straight attack on Hamas leadership, and we believe they've managed to strike at some of the senior leaders of Hamas. They've been killed. That's what Israel confirms, but we're yet to hear from Qatar. But Qatar's only version here is this is absolutely distasteful, possibly a lack of a better word, condemning it, saying that this is hurting their country's sovereignty and violating all international laws. Do you believe this is a violation of international law?
Thank you very much. Of course, it is a violation of international law. There is no denying the fact. But the Israelis have been maintaining that wherever on this earth the Hamas leadership would be, they wouldn't hesitate to knock them off. In that context, they've gone about killing this Hamas, getting together in Qatar, probably wanting to, what they claim to be discussing what the American ceasefire is all about. But what really comes to mind is, I think Israel is extremely keen to get Gaza vacated. And the Gaza city today has about 1.3 million people, and they've been wanting to push them down south. Now, south also has a sizable number, huge in lakhs over there, pathetic living conditions and absolutely inhuman living over there. But somehow Israel insists that all these people must be pushed down south so that they can clear Gaza. Because obviously, after what happened in October, the Israelis are keen that the entire leadership must be eliminated. Though the reports have been contradictory, Israelis are claiming that yes, it was a pinpoint precision strike in knocking off the Hamas leadership, which had gathered there to discuss the ceasefire and what next steps they would be able to take. But what Reuters tells us is that, they are saying nobody has been hit. So there are, anyway, hopefully in our next about 24 hours, things will clear what happened. But definitely, I have no doubt in mind that Israel is going all about it. Iran has condemned it. Saudi Arabia has condemned it. USA has not condemned it. Israel is, go because after what we just said, the strike in Jerusalem, obviously that must have hurt them. But more than anything else, the ceasefire in Gaza wouldn't help Israel unless they take full possession of Gaza. And in that context, I think if the ceasefire were to go through, then the Israel gains nothing. Because the Hamas, whatever the number, maybe even 10, 15,000 that the Hamas fighters are there, they will still be there. So the aim of Israel is to ensure from north still coming up to down south up to Rafah, they want to clear the complete thing, not one soul there. Still, they take it down, ensure there are no tunnels there, there is nobody, and whoever resettles there after that would be at the discretion of Israel, and things are those kind of whatever the way they would want it to. So it is in that context I think Israel has hit the Hamas leadership, because after all, now only Khalid Hana, I think Khalid Hana, who is the topmost leader now of Gaza, who's been Khalil. Not Khalil has been the one responsible for all of it for a very, very long time. And in that sense, I think if he is dead, then of course there is a vacuum now in the Hamas leadership, because Hamas has lost all of their top leader except Khalil, who's still alive. And if he's also dead in this particular attack, then I think Hamas will be without a top leader negotiating in Qatar. Qatar, in conjunction with Egypt, had been wanting to negotiate. The Americans have a lot of interest in Qatar. They have a lot of say in Qatar. Hopefully, they would have got this ceasefire. But Israel doesn't
Sir,
seem
but
to do
isn't it inevitable now that Qatar will respond? Because this is a strike that's happened on Qatar's soil. Do you believe that Israel has taken this far too deep into neutral territory?
Qatar has no capability nor any capacity. Qatar is a small state, just about 11,000 odd square kilometers, and a very, very small, very rich, has a very high per capita income. It wouldn't want to get destroyed at all. So Qatar will make some noise, but it wouldn't attack. Iran, of course, also, I don't think everybody will make noise, but nobody will attack. Nobody has the capability to attack. What does Qatar have so far? Nothing other than commercial interest.
Qatar may not be alone. You have Iran very much backing Qatar. Iran has already given a statement saying that this is an absolute violation of international law. And here you have Israel now up against most Arab countries. They've attacked 6 Arab countries so far, and Iran and Israel went into a direct conflict a few months ago. So, do you think this is going to kickstart another storm? And who is backing Israel?
What happened? See, Lebanon is out. Hezbollah won't do anything. Gaza, there's nothing that is left. Syria, nothing. It's almost in control of America. Yemen, there's nothing. Houthis have, of course, hit the Israeli one of the airstrips. But then, not very much. Iran has been hit very badly. Iran wouldn't want to do anything at this point of time. There'll be a lot of noise. But I don't think anybody has the capability, because Israel is a backing of the United States, and that's a major factor. And the United States is deeply involved in Qatar. They're almost together. The United States is with Syria because they are the ones who formed the government in Syria. In Lebanon, you find southern Lebanon is almost destroyed by Israel. There's no way. Hezbollah and Lebanese themselves are now wanting to get, the Lebanese wanting to get rid of Hezbollah. Hamas is on the back foot over here. Iran, so all said and done, Iran has the capability, the capacity, but would not want to do anything at this point of time. So all said and done, I don't think anybody has the capability and the capacity. Yes, they would want to. If they had the very fact that Hamas has come up only to wipe out Israel, Hezbollah has come up only to wipe out Israel, but nobody has the ability and the capacity and the capability to wipe out or even touch Israel at this point of time. Yes, noise will be made, but I don't think any destruction of Israel can be caused, or there would be a retaliation from any one of these countries, because all of them are virtually finished. Otherwise, Israel won't attempt hitting Qatar, because Qatar has nothing to do. Qatar is a neutral state negotiating and more of a facilitator to get countries over there. And even for Afghanistan, they were the ones helping them out. Even now also you have Egypt over there, Hamas leadership there. So Israel's main contact was to ensure that the Hamas leadership, that it's in a residential complex, and such precision strikes not being able to, we'll get to know what damage has been caused in Qatar, but I don't think there would have been any damage other than this Hamas leadership and the place where they were getting together to negotiate this particular ceasefire or discuss the ceasefire have been hit. Otherwise, I don't think there is any destruction of Qatar, and Netanyahu himself has claimed that yes, they are responsible, yes, they are the ones that hit, and they take full responsibility for hitting the Hamas leadership in Qatar. So much that they would want to hit back at Israel, but unfortunately, they have no capability, no capacity to hit back Israel, because the United States is with Israel, and there's no way.
And this looks like a clear vendetta. It's after Jerusalem attack that Israel has now turned around to attack Hamas, and right in their comfort zone. Qatar is literally their base, Hamas senior leadership, and Israel now not stopping short. In fact, one of the Israeli ministers say that no matter where you are to the Hamas, that you will not escape the long arm of the Israel army. So Israel is quite clear that they're going to wipe out Hamas at whichever corner they are and whoever is shielding them. Irrespective of that, they will go deep into it and ensure their target is met. And we believe that they managed to actually successfully kill a few senior Hamas leaders. Now, who are they? How many of them? Details are yet awaited, but that's the latest update we have, that Israel has attacked Qatar's Doha, straight at a venue, a building where a meeting was underway of Hamas senior leaders who were in talks on ceasefire on how to bring peace in that region. And a day ago, they claimed the Jerusalem attack, and here you have Israel responding in measure. I really appreciate your time on this, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Thank you very much. All right, the biggest story in India, we have a new Vice President, and that's CP Radhakrishnan. India has announced its new Vice President, CP Radhakrishnan, after he got a majority vote. In fact, CP Radhakrishnan has more than one reason to celebrate, certainly. Not only did he get the NDA votes, he also got 14 votes from the opposition. Cross-voting happened. India bloc's 14 members have voted in favor of CP Radhakrishnan. Now, who they are, we're not clear as yet, but certainly a lot for the NDA and CP Radhakrishnan to rejoice. The polls opened in Delhi this morning with Prime Minister Narendra Modi casting the first vote. In fact, this vice presidential election came after Jagdeep Dhankar resigned on July 21st, citing health reasons. So it was an exit that was abrupt. Jagdeep Dhankar left, saying that he was not well and did not want to continue. And 50 days later, you have CP Radhakrishnan, who's basically come to becoming the VP with a majority vote. In fact, he was a straight contender to Sudarshan Reddy of the India bloc. A straight fight, BJP-led NDA's pick, Maharashtra Governor CP Radhakrishnan versus India bloc's candidate, former Supreme Court Judge Justice B. Sudarshan Reddy. Out of the total electoral college of 788 MPs, 245 from Rajya Sabha, 543 from Lok Sabha, the majority mark stood at 377. Three major parties, the BJD, Odisha's Naveen Patnaik's BJD, Telangana's BRS and Punjab Shiromani Akali Dal. Three of these parties abstained from voting altogether. On paper, the NDA in total had 427 MPs who were in favor. Plus, they had the support of the YSRCP's 11 MPs. So, NDA in total expected 438 votes. But what NDA got was 452 votes, 14 more than what was expected. The India bloc, which had 315 MPs, ended up getting only 300 votes. So, and one ballot was left vacant. It was blank. So, we presume that the 14 votes of the India bloc went to the NDA. Now, who is India's 15th Vice President? CP Radhakrishnan is born in Tirupur, Tamil Nadu, 1957. CP Radhakrishnan began as an RSS Swayam Sevak. He became a two-time MP from Coimbatore, served as Tamil Nadu's BJP chief, chaired as the COIR board. He in fact chaired the COIR board, later took charge as governor in multiple states, including Maharashtra being the latest. With over 4 decades in political and governance, he now steps into one of the highest constitutional offices in the country. Joining me for a little more, Savio Rodrigues, founder and editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicle. He's an analyst with his political acumen to give us a little sense of who cross-voted. Savio, would you have an idea? All right, we seem to have lost Savio's connection. We're going to try and patch him back. But certainly a big day for CP Radhakrishnan. It's interesting to see how the man was already, surely to win this election, it was mostly just a formality because NDA had most of the numbers. But cross-voting was something that we wanted to wait to see what would happen, and that's precisely what has happened. 14 MPs from the India bloc have cross-voted in favor of CP Radhakrishnan. We have some reactions coming in. I'm going to dip into that.
Shri Buchi Reddy Sudarshan Reddy has secured 300 first preference votes and Shri CP Radhakrishnan has secured 452 first preference votes. As the first preference vote secured by Shri CP Radhakrishnan was greater than the requisite quota, in pursuance of provisions contained in Section 11 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952, 31 of 1952, read with Rule 35 of the Presidential and Vice Presidential Election Rules 1974, I, P.C. Modi, the returning officer for the Vice Presidential Election 2025, hereby declare that Shri C.P. Radhakrishnan has been duly elected to the office of Vice President of India.
All right, Savio Rodriguez is with me. Savio, thanks very much for joining us. What's your take on the cross-voting? 14 MPs of the India bloc, likely, we're not too sure who that is, have voted in favor of the NDA candidate. Do you believe that this is just basically exposing the cracks within the India bloc, or more to do with personal equation or personal affection towards the NDA candidate?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with the Congress itself, because the Congress in its wisdom told all the candidates, both within the India Alliance as well as the NDA, to vote with a conscience. So 14 of them decided to vote with a conscience. And that conscience did not necessarily work in the advantage of India, but it worked in the advantage of the NDA. And rightfully, they have chosen one of the candidates who's actually a very good man, and I believe he will be a very good vice president for India.
Well, how does this result really impact the India bloc's claim of unity? You know, we're looking at now India bloc looking united, at least in Bihar. But at a time like this, you know, they've lost out on 14 MPs to the other side. We know general elections is a long way to go, but it seems like at least for the NDA, they can go to town with this, that they got 14 additional MPs to vote in their favor. Who are these MPs? Do you believe it's easy for them to find out?
No, I don't think it's easy for them to find out. I think we should be grateful to those 14 members of parliament who voted with their conscience for what they saw as the better candidate. And at the end of the day, they did it in the interest of the country. And like the India Alliance advised them, please vote by your conscience, I think they listened. So I don't think even the India Alliance, if they found out who those 14 members of parliament were, they should actually thank them because they voted by the conscience.
Why do you say so? Why do you say so? Why do you think Sudarshan Reddy wasn't a fit candidate?
I never said he wasn't the fit candidate. I was saying that primarily between the good, the better and the best, I've always believed personally that CP Radhakrishnan was the better candidate. But that's my personal opinion. And now the members of parliament have also shown the same. So it's not whether one is good, bad or anything of that sort. It's what a person believes. And I believe that even the 14 members of parliament who cross-voted believe that CP Radhakrishnan will do a better job than Sudarshan Reddy. And now if we need to know whether Sudarshan Reddy will do a better job, I think the India Alliance would need to cobble up the kind of support they require. Right now, India's got a new vice president, a good man, and I believe he will do wonderful work as far as him being the vice president.
So you say that it's impossible to find out who cross-voted?
I think the India Alliance needs to retrospect themselves, because when you advise somebody to vote by their conscience, they're going to do just that, right? So I don't think they should be looking at who the 14 members of parliament is. I think they should look at themselves for suggesting to vote by their conscience, and that's what they did. If they would have suggested to vote by a dictate,
aside, but who voted? I'm basically trying to get an understanding on who may have voted. Is there a possibility for them to find out? Because the NDA eventually will go to town with this.
So.
You know, it was inevitable that CP Radhakrishnan would win as the numbers were stacked in his favor. But the surprise here is that 14 extra votes that they got. In fact, Sudarshan Reddy was very confident that there could be cross-voting. India bloc was confident there could be cross-voting in their favor. But this has happened exactly the opposite, which is why it's interesting here. Either way, the RJD, beg your pardon, the BRS, the BJD and the Shiromani Akali Dal, three parties have abstained. Would you be able to tell us why?
Well, I think they didn't want to create complications with either relationships that they have with the India Alliance as well as the ruling government. That's my reading into it. But I still believe the 14 members of parliament, and I'm sure the India Alliance would be looking at finding out who they are. But I don't think they will find anything because it was a secret ballot, and I think they only advised the candidates to vote by a conscience. I think they should next time tell these candidates that they have as part of the alliance to to vote as per a dictate of the India Alliance, as per opinion of the India Alliance, rather than telling them vote by your conscience. And 14 members of parliament, they could be from the Congress themselves, for all you know, who decided to vote with their conscience. Maybe they realized that, Mr. Reddy was not the better person as the CP Radhakrishnan was. There
So
would
this was
be many reasons that
conscience,
led
or
their
whether it
conscience.
was strategy, whether it was personal equation, we could never tell. Whatever it is, we have a new vice president, CP Radhakrishnan, who was started from the RSS ranks as an RSS Swayam Sevak and then went on to be the BJP's chief in Tamil Nadu earlier on, and then served as governor to multiple states. He's been an organizational man for the BJP, the NDA. He was the apt pick, and he seems to have made it through, and with a good majority. Thanks very much, Savio, for joining us.
You're most welcome.
All right, shifting our focus to the world's biggest story, Nepal. As Nepal burns, I'm going to take you through in detail all those images coming in from that country with the Prime Minister finally resigning. Slipping into a short break, we'll be right back. Do stay with us.
ट्रस्टेड लॉयर शर्मा जी ने अपने दीवारों पर जेके मैक्स पेंट्स क्या लगवाया? अजीब अजीब बहाने लेकर आने लगे पड़ोसी उनका घर देखने।
हाय शर्मा जी, एक रील बना लूं उस ब्यूटीफुल सी वॉल के पास। मैं देखती हूँ।
हमारा टॉमी नहीं मिल रहा, यहाँ आया होगा।
यहाँ टॉमी।
मुझे गर्मा गर्म पकौड़े आपके लिए।
जेके मैक्स पेंट्स, खुशियों के रंग।
Papa, let's go to Duda. Happy birthday, Duda. Duda, I love you. Go, Duda, go. I love my Duda. I love my Duda.
Skoda. Breaking news. Major disruption is expected this week.
Yes, disruption confirmed. That's me. Relax. No scams. No scams. Just my brand new show, News Cosmic with Cyrus.
बेस्ट है सर।
पर नया क्यों?
Architect ji, something special for you. बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस देने के लिए।
ऐसा क्या है इसमें?
इसमें है एडवांस्ड क्वालिटी। 1 साल में पेंट को कुछ भी हुआ तो पेंटिंग वापस करके देंगे।
वापस करके देंगे।
वो भी फ्री। क्वालिटी पे इतना कॉन्फिडेंस, इसीलिए बिरला ओपस एश्योरेंस। रजिस्टर करो birlaopus.com पर।
3, 2, 1, fire!
Welcome back. Well, let me cut across to the top story that's really grabbed international headlines. Nepal's unrest. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned, leaving yet another of India's neighbours now in political turmoil. His exit now comes after violent anti-corruption protests that spiraled across the country, killing 19 unarmed youths and injuring nearly 500 people. The flashpoint, of course, began after KP Sharma Oli banned social media platforms on 5th of September because they did not comply with the government's rules. What began as a youth-led pushback now has morphed into a nationwide rebellion against corruption, nepotism and political mismanagement. Furious demonstrators stormed parliament, they torched the government buildings, ransacked leaders' homes. Former Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal's wife Rajalakshmi Chitrakar has also tragically lost her life after protests set their Dulu residence on fire. She was rescued in critical condition but later succumbed to her burn injuries. In fact, on the whole of today, mobs set the parliament ablaze, the president's office on fire, Singha Darbar, the Supreme Court, district courts, all official establishments in Nepal were set ablaze by these agitated protesters. Homes of top leaders, including President Ramchandra Podal, former PM Pushpa Kamal Dahal, and Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak, were all attacked. Finance Minister Bishnu Podal and ex-Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba were beaten on the streets of Kathmandu as violence mounted. One minister after the other stepped down. Home Minister, Agricultural Minister, Water Supplies Minister, they all resigned, and finally KP Sharma Oli himself tendered his resignation before he actually fled from Nepal. He fled the burning capital in a military chopper, likely to Dubai, and the destination is still not disclosed, but this is what we hear. The army had to finally come out and deploy in numbers to restore order, but still protests continue. Protests have in fact opened space of unconventional leaders now, for what we know. Now that KP Sharma Oli is no more the Prime Minister, who else to step in? We hear Kathmandu's rapper turned mayor Balendra Shah and RSP chief Rabi Labichane, both who were freed from jail by those protesters, are now being seen as alternatives to the political establishment. In fact, they want them to take over. Meanwhile, the unrest has hit India directly. Nearly 700 Indian passengers remain stranded after Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport shut down for safety. New Delhi has urged citizens to avoid travelling to Nepal and advised those inside the country to stay indoors and follow local advisories. Nepal Army Chief Ashok Raj Sidgel, who just gave out his address, a video address, has said that the integrity of Nepal is valuable and requests and appeals for people and protesters to maintain peace, saying this is all in your hands. You've got to maintain peace to save the country, Nepal. Of course, the big question here, it raises questions around Nepal and its position. Is Nepal heading the way of Sri Lanka or Bangladesh? As Sri Lanka is settled, Bangladesh still in doldrums. We're looking at Nepal going the similar way, with youth coming out, vandalizing public property and dislodging the government that was. Joining me for a little more, Dr. Dhaval Shushmair, former MP and General Secretary RPP, live from Kathmandu. We also have Priyadarshini Khanal, Gen Z protester, joining us live from Kathmandu. In fact, let me start with Priyadarshini. She's part of those protests. I don't know if you are part of the protest, Priyadarshini. Would you want to tell us, you are a Gen Z protester. Have you hit the streets yourself? Would you tell us why this has escalated to this point? 19 youngsters protesting died. But after that, what has turned Nepal has literally been battered by protests. Do you believe that these protesters are legitimate? Do you support this?
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for inviting me. So definitely yesterday, when the fuels fired inside us, when the protest began, the protest was not just a mere protest for social media ban. The protest was anti-corruption protest. The protest was seeking for justice. The protest was asking for integrity, accountability from the government. We were opting for a peaceful protest. The peaceful protest later turned out to be a police atrocities. 19 lives were taken. It was not just a mere police control of riot. It had turned into murder scenes. I could see each and every bloodshed on those streets. The streets where we went with a pen and a paper and a book in our hand to protest against corruption, to protest against opaque government. But what we got in return was blooded hands. The government, the authority, were just authoritative people and dictators in disguise of authoritarians. We were protesting for a change. Yesterday, lives was lost. And today, the rays that fueled fire in each and every individual. Now, we were just not fighting for the corruption, we were fighting for those lives that were lost, along with our anti-corruption protest. The frustration, the suppression, the oppression from the government has crossed its limits. The crowd got outraged. What we were most scared of happened. Riots broke all around Kathmandu city and all around the nation. We were never opting for violence. We are always advocates for peace. We were up for a peaceful protest. But when the voices have been so much suppressed, the rays comes out. One way or the other, even if we try to shut a water's force, it bursts. Same thing happened to the youth. Same thing happened to the Gen Z's protest. But at this point, what I would like to say is, we do not condone violence. We do not want violence in the street. The future, the nation that we're fighting for is burning. The streets are burning. Our infrastructures are burning. I know the losses of the lives were unbearable and the injuries were irreparable. But if we take an eye for an eye, it makes the whole world blind. This is not what we're opting for. This is not what we're rooting for. This is not the nation we're fighting for. We were fighting for freedom. We were fighting for peace. We were fighting for justice. And now the streets are full of riots, full of blood, fires. This is not the nation we're opting for. Now we have to think about the better tomorrow. We have to channel our strength. We are so powerful.
I agree.
We can bring a change.
You know, I agree. And since you are sounding so wise, I'm surprised to see this kind of sentiment on the ground, though. Doesn't seem like the protesters are showing any wisdom. They're out there attacking brutally and killing. So this is criminal in nature, if anything. I understand that 19 unarmed youths were killed after police clashed with those protesters and police opened fire. But that does not mean this, this indulging in this kind of violence will only push your nation to further darkness. So as wise as you sound, we're not seeing that kind of wisdom shown by the protesters on the ground. But well, yet you are taking this courage to come in front of the screen, speak to us right here on News9 to tell us what you all are going through. But yet none of this is justified. Abhishek, would you believe, economist and social activist, he's live from Kathmandu joining us, would you believe this act of violence by the youth in Nepal is really in any way going to bring any bright future to Nepal? If that's what you wish, if that's what they wish, doesn't seem like it's going that direction.
Thank you, Nabila. Well, as Priyadarshini was saying, this movement started with all the right intentions and also the right way of going about it. But probably since today afternoon, once the PM resigned, a couple of ministers resigned, from maybe 3 or 4 p.m. today, it seems to be descending into mayhem, chaos and anarchy, which is beginning to make people nervous, myself included. So yes, it's taking a turn for the worse, but I think that's happened because of the power vacuum, right? After the Prime Minister and others resigned, then you would think that the next order of call would be the president, right? So the president should have been able to kind of take control as head of state and work with the army, which is essentially the institution of last resort in any country, any society, and together, bring the Gen Z protesters, their leaders, as well as other youth leaders who are respected by a lot of Nepalese, including Gen Z, like, people like Balan, Ravi Lamechane, which are names I presume you've heard of, and then try to form some kind of an all-party government, right? But what has been lacking for the last few hours, in my view, is this silence from the president, who himself is in hiding, by the way. His office was also ransacked. So
do we know?
I hear that he's been taken to some safe place by the army. But why he is not taking the next steps to take things into control is a mystery to me. And the army,
but it's scary as it is. You have the leaders who were present at their homes were killed. quite literally. You have the former Prime Minister's wife who was trapped in her house. They didn't let her step out. They set the house ablaze while ensuring that she was locked inside. So that's nothing but criminal in nature.
I know it's crazy, but this is not something that just happened overnight. You see, in my view, this is something that has been simmering for 10, 15, maybe 20 years. Right? There have been other movements in the past.
But how old are they? These students are barely even 30.
Yes, yeah, Gen Z.
Not even.
That's what they are, right? But what the point I was trying to make is this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the anger and frustration against misrule, misgovernance, bad governance, corruption has been going on for 10, 15 years. I'd say it began with the Vivek Shield movement.
But I'm actually very shocked to know that the Gen Z is agitating against corruption that's been going on for 10, 15 years. You know, more to me, this looks like an absolute outrage because social media has been banned. So once you have nothing to do, you're free. Large-scale unemployment we hear in Nepal. So the youth are out on the streets because they have nothing to engage them. Social media was a tool to engage them, and now that's gone. And
it's been restored. Social media was banned. True, but it has already been restored since yesterday, right?
It's been restored?
Yes. So, and the Gen Z protests began peacefully enough. It started at 9 a.m. Yesterday morning. But when it took a turn for the worse was when 20 young people were brutally massacred. Essentially, that's what they are. I mean, where in the world does it happen that on the very first day of the revolution, you know, police fire bullets aiming at heads and chests, aiming to take lives? You know, you start with
just a moment. When was social media restored?
Yesterday already. So it's been more, I'd say 24 hours.
Social media was restored yesterday. When were the 19 people killed?
Yesterday.
19 were killed yesterday.
I'm unaware if any have been killed today.
Okay. And you're saying that because 19 were killed, this agitation has escalated to this extent.
Exactly.
Has the army come into play? We heard the army chief give a statement.
It's the government's bad handling of what was otherwise a peaceful protest that has led to this, call it madness.
Okay. We also have Babina Mokhtan Lawoti, member Constituent Assembly, former MP RPP from Nepal, Kathmandu. Thank you, Babina. Would you want to give us your take on KP Sharma Oli resigning? He's now fled the country. Do you know where he is? Is there any information where KP Sharma Oli is? We hear reports suggesting he's in Dubai for some kind of medical treatment.
Thank you. Yes, I also have heard it from different posts on social media that KP Sharma Oli is not in the country and he's fled to Dubai, but it has not been confirmed yet. You know, it has not been confirmed. So you really don't know whether he is still in Nepal or he has already fled to Dubai. He could still be in Nepal. There is the probability.
Where is this turning to? What is this protest? What does it mean to the larger population of Nepal? We know the youngsters are protesting largely, but what about the wiser, mature population in Nepal? Are they backing the youth?
The Nepal as such, the whole it's the agitation, the protest about Gen Z and the social media ban is just it's just the tip of the iceberg, like the former friend just mentioned about it. It's not just about the social media ban, and this revolt has not just the situation today is not the outcome of just the social media ban and what's happening. It's a suppression. It's the corruption that has been going on in Nepal for the past 20 plus years. So you know, all this suppressed anger. It's not just Gen Z. It's the whole country. You know, we are all fed up of this corruption.
A sentiment and a mood that prevails across the country and not just among the youth. We also have Sachin Temilsina, youth leader, Nepali Congress Party, also with us. Sachin, your take on this? Do you believe that these protests will subside anytime soon? Bangladesh is looking at an interim government. who is your option? Who is an alternative now for Nepal?
First up, this protest was something that we feared, and we did have a long conversation in our party about. However, the scenario now looks very uncertain. There was a rumor for some time that the president had also resigned, but army somehow managed to keep its ceremonial head on the post. So there seems to be some sort of path that is slowly being paved, but I don't think anybody has a path to guide the country clearly from here. People were expecting Balin Shah, the mayor of Kathmandu, to actually come out on the street and lead the protest. And many of us thought so as well. That not being the case, the problem with the government dealing with this situation is there is no one leadership or one entity that is leading this protest. So nobody knows, whom to talk to, or if there is a single consensus leadership among the protesting fraction as well. Now, in this case, the constitution, it's difficult to dissolve the parliament as per our constitution, the constitution we've made. So as far as I know, somebody whom the Gen Z protesters would likely listen to is Balin Shah, the way it seems. And his first demand through his Facebook status that we can see is the dissolving of the parliament at the first. So it's a confusing situation, really. And the army chief also did not give away much information regarding, what is there. He just called the Gen Z for a talk, but then whom did he call? That's something everybody's confused about. There is no single entity, as I said, that's leading the protest. And yes, the killing yesterday was horrific, and this is what has given the Gen Z so much of raise that they've gone on very aggressive on the field today. But at some point of time, this has to stop. There was even talks of people gathering around Pashupatinath. So there may be infiltration. There may be other forces that have come in. There are now talks of foreign elements getting in as well. But this has to stop, and somebody has to lead this mob. And for that thing, I think what has been the major concern is who is it that these people will listen to. That's the major question. For
that, right? Priyadarshini, who is it that the Gen Z will listen to? Who is it that you want as an alternative?
So we definitely want someone who has as patriotic blood as ours. But in the current scenario, the situation is very uncertain. We were hoping that the Mayor Balin Shah of Kathmandu would take the lead, as my former speaker also mentioned, but that was definitely not the case. The violence has gone above and beyond. It is unimaginable. The public infrastructures and properties has been vandalized, burned. Now, at this point, even civilians are at danger, because the houses near those infrastructure are at danger, and those houses are the residence of the civilians. So right now, the situation is very uncertain. We are looking for a leadership from someone who is as patriotic and has as patriotic blood as ours. We want a nation. Now, we don't want a leader or anybody coming for opportunities or any opportunist coming with any sort of ill mindset or ill motive. We just want people who actually want to do something for the change. And right now, giving a name right away is really difficult with all the uncertain situations and everything ongoing in the streets of Kathmandu and everything that has been done. Even we cannot even say if the martial law will prevail or anything that will happen, because even as former speaker also mentioned, even the army chief just called for a Gen Z talk, and they did not mention whom to talk. Who is that Gen Z? Who is taking the leadership? So the situation is very uncertain.
So you're saying within the protesters itself there are multiple different groups? So then how do you know who's violent? How do you know who's reasonable? Who can come to the table without...
That's the major issue here, because we are not being able to characterize or differentiate who is actually instigating or agitating a violence and who is actually up for a peaceful protest. Now the situation has been a very dire and very uncontrollable. At this point, we cannot distinguish who is actually agitating or who is actually firing a fuel, or who is adding the fuel to the fire. the situation has been very gruesome and very gruesome in the streets of Kathmandu right now. And with the lack of leadership, with the lack of governance, with the lack of any guardian of the state right now in the context of Nepal, it has been very difficult to even come out and speak and ask for any leadership that should be taken over at this moment.
Okay, before I end here, as I'm short on time, I will play out the army chief of Nepal who spoke. I appreciate all our guests joining us, but let's listen in once more for those who are watching us and our continued coverage on Nepal crisis. Here's the army chief after the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned and fled the country. Army chief now almost overseeing the situation. Here's his message to the people of Nepal.
नेपाल को इतिहास देखी नहीं. The Army appeals to all citizens to maintain peace and security. The Army has also expressed regret over damage to public property during the demonstrations. The Nepal Army is always committed to the safety and security of Nepal and its people, and is fully dedicated to protecting lives and property in the current situation. The Army emphasizes that the protection of public assets, including historical, cultural, and national heritage, is a shared responsibility. It urges the citizens to act with restraint and preserve social harmony and national unity amid the ongoing unrest.